Chapter 37. Threats made good. Although her hands were bound tight to the steel chair, the sight of the forest's rolling hills through the surprisingly clean windows almost made everything fade away. Scenery like that gets old quick, Sierra thought, as she tugged on the rope that bound her wrists to the chair. You might as well save your strength. Nobody has ever worked their way out of my knots. The man smiled at Sierra as he ran his finger softly down one side of her face. Trust me, my beauty. You will need your strength. Rather than think of what her captor was implying, Sierra inventoried the room. It only took a second to note 4 things: the man who had just stroked her face, the chair she was strapped to, and a small table with her hat sitting on top of it. Now, my dear, tell me who your people are. I know you aren't with the government, because we are here by request of your government. So who are you? Sierra could feel saliva landing on her as he spoke inches from her face. Images of headbutting him filled her thoughts, but quickly vanished. She always thought that people who did that had to be brain dead. Instead, she asked, "Could I get a few aspirin and a Pepsi?" The question was answered quickly with the back of his right hand cracking loudly across her right cheek. Spitting the blood from her mouth to the floor, Sierra looked back to the soldier. Okay, how about just the aspirin? Those ballistic plates in the vest don't contain much padding and my back is killing me. Again, the UN man replied with the back of his hand. This time, Sierra could feel the blood rushing to the area. Now, Uni, use your words, Sierra said with a bloody smile on her face. Stepping back, the UN soldier could see he wasn't getting anywhere. He picked up the hat they had brought in with her. With his back to her, he rolled it around in his fingers and wondered why a girl would wear such a thing. Sentimental value, he thought, as a slight smile came across his face. Believing he had what he needed to break her, the UN soldier turned around, twirling the hat in the air with 2 fingers. So, little miss, what is Willie's? Sierra focused on her hat as it spun round and round his fingers. I'm going to break those fingers before I kill you. Just as Sierra finished her threat, gunfire erupted in the hallway outside the door at her back. The UN soldier's attention quickly turned to the noise, and he dropped the hat and rushed over to the door. He opened it a crack and could see his men returning fire. He pulled back into the room. I believe we need to find other accommodations, little miss. Turning from the door, he spotted the hat where he had dropped it, and knew he had to take it with them, as it evoked deep emotions in her. Running back across the room to where the hat lay, he paid little attention to Sierra as he passed by. Feeling his movements and listening closely to his footsteps, Sierra waited for just the right moment. As he came alongside her, she lashed out with her left boot heel, kicking his left foot behind his right as it came forward. As the large soldier put his hands out to cushion his fall, Sierra rocked the steel chair forward, bringing it into the air and standing to her feet. Standing but bent over as if she was still seated in the chair attached to her butt, Sierra quickly shuffled over to where the man lay on the floor. Raising her right foot, Sierra brought the heel of her boot down across the fingers on the hand he had used to stop his fall. As he screamed in agony, she struck out, planting the toe of her right boot to his temple, causing him to roll to his back as he went limp on the floor. Quickly, Sierra spun and took 2 steps forward, with the legs of the chair facing the UN soldier on the floor. She walked back as fast as she could and jumped with the chair in the air. Sierra stared at the wall in front of her as the back legs of the chair came down. Not only could she feel them plunging through his ribs, but she could also hear the bones as they cracked and the air rush from his body as his lungs rapidly deflated. Still sitting tied to the chair with 2 of the legs rammed through the soldier, Sierra was unsure what to do next. Listening to the gunfire grow closer outside the door, she looked over to see who might enter. To her surprise, her pistols hung on the back of the door. Those would have made things easier. She rocked forward to free the chair legs from the chest of the man on the floor, an attempt that was unsuccessful. On her last thrust forward, Sierra heard the gunfire cease outside the door and wondered just who would be coming through. Without warning, the door burst open, and Karnik rushed in with 3 others close behind, each moving into the room opposite the guy in front of them. Karnak stood across the room, staring at Sierra, sitting in a chair with the legs plunged through a man's chest. Karnak had truly believed that he had seen most everything possible until this. "You have any aspirin? My back is killing me," Sierra asked Karnak with a smile on her face. "Really?" The sight astonished one of the others who had come through the door with Karnak. "Hey, I warned him!" Sierra snapped back, pretending to be offended by his comment. "Now how about untying me?" Karnak pulled his knife from his vest and stepped over to her. Just as he slid it between her wrist and the chair arm, Sierra whispered, "See, I knew you couldn't resist me." Then she gave him a wink and a smile as he looked her in the eyes, startled by what she had said. "Listen, we have to get moving. Can you walk?" Karnak asked, seeing that she had been through quite a lot as he cut her other wrist free. Sierra stepped over and picked up her hat. After putting it on her head, she stretched, walked over to the door, and removed her pistols from the hook. Swinging them around her waist and securing them in place, Sierra looked back at Karnak from under the brim of her hat with cold, focused eyes. "You want to lead?" Sierra was ready to finish the mission, and she walked through the door with her 357 Magnum revolvers in each hand.